This is Jimmy. How are you doing, guys, today? This is a quick trading weekly review of the trades we have done and also the lessons we have gained from that. Normally, also, we do have BC Richfield in the house, but I think he just lost his internet. So, you guys have to deal with me. I hope that's all okay with you. We did a few trades or actually this week and last week, since we did our most recent live stream about our trading reviews. So this week, I want to walk with you through one of the trade setups I've shared on Discord, and that was mainly Bitcoin. Um, and I would like to walk you through this. So, why I decided to long Bitcoin, what my thesis was, and what I would have done a little bit differently. It's always easy to talk in hindsight to do things differently, but often it's the only way to learn. So let's talk quickly about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin was kind of rejected here, and I explained in my weekly Bitcoin report that a rejection here to this point is what I consider as a soft rejection, not a hard rejection, a soft rejection. So it was rejected here and went all the way down to 21.5. Okay, let me round this up. And the reason I decided to long, and this was actually pretty tricky because I longed Bitcoin, we longed Bitcoin one day before the PPI or CPI data was released. I always mix these two. I'm not a FA guy, by the way, guys. Just so you guys know, but I do know that CPI or PPI data can uh, cause a lot of volatility, so you can get quickly stopped out either way. So we long Bitcoin here, and let me pull also like the original thesis is a rejection. It was also still hovering above the 200 EMA. So why the 200 EMA? I do see like 200 EMA. You can use it many ways. You can see it as a mean reversion or as a dynamic support resistance. My thesis was the 200 EMA was going to probably act as a dynamic support. So I had here some dynamic support and there was some horizontal support. So what do we call this? We call this confluence. I like confluence. I always like for my system, I always need at least two triggers. Like just trading at support is for me not a reason to long something, because I don't think it's really worthwhile to just buy because something is sitting on support. It was sitting here on support, a bounce from the 200 EMA. On the daily, right? Really beautiful bounce on the daily. And you could call this like Adam and Eve bottom or W button. So it bounced here and it bounced here, and a really strong bullish divergence has formed. So on the Burbicator Pro, you see a 91% bullish divergence, meaning 9 out of the 10 momentum indicators are showing divergence. So that's a lot. So it's divergence on the MVI, CCI, OBV, RSI, MACD, and so on, and so on, and so on. So now I have not only one trigger support, I don't have only two triggers, which is divergence. And I don't only have like three triggers, which is actually the W pattern. Well, basically, I do have three triggers, and for me, it was enough to initiate a call. However, calling something before a major event such as a CPI or PPI always comes with extra risk. So for me, what does it mean? It means risk management. So my position size was way lower than I normally size my positions. So that was actually, in a nutshell, the thesis why I long Bitcoin based on the 4 hour chart and my main triggers. To recall them: support, bounce off the 200 EMA, a bullish divergence was for me reason enough to trade the charts. Not gonna lie, for a minute or few, I was really thinking, should I give this call? Should I trade this call before such a major event? And then someone, a friend, and we always remind each other, because trading is all about getting the right reminders from time to time, because in the heat of the moment, you always feel, think, act differently. That someone told me, Jimmy, just trade the charts. And that was for me like the final trigger to give this call and to open this trade. Hey, I see BC Richfield, but I'm pretty sure you guys don't see him yet. He's not added to the stream, but he has also some nice charts to share with you guys. By the way, if there's any requests, questions, or whatsoever, please do let me know. Happy to answer these questions here in this live stream.
Hey guys, how are we doing?
Good, man. Good to see you back.
Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Sorry, I was just hanging there backstage looking at you review that awesome chart. I as someone that spends a lot of time in the kind of murkier waters of low time frame, I do love seeing how clean some of these trade setups that you and some of the high time frame or medium time frame guys post. Really nice key support there, wasn't there? Bullish divergence was the trigger point, and then, like you say, using that. But I think, like with all things, and we have this quite a lot, when we have the power of hindsight looking back on these trades, they all seem like no-brainers to take them, don't they? But in the moment, like you say, you're considering so many factors. You've got, core inflation data coming out. We had all the things, the markets. You've got so much noise, right? So having the conviction to take those trades is massive. And then also the patience to manage them over longer periods of time, which probably the reason I'm a day trader is because of my lack of patience, right? For that.
Well, lucky for us, this one played out pretty quick. It was initiated on the 13th of Feb. And the final update was, it is here. No, it was actually yesterday, I guess. So yeah, it's a few days to have this played out fully. Pretty happy with that.
Awesome, mate. I think it's a brilliant trade. I love it, and I love looking at those trades. And like you said as well, talking about it as a team, we're very fortunate to have that as a trading team. You get to discover insights from other traders, look at the way that they view the market. And while we're all, as you have to be as traders, you have to have incredibly strong conviction behind your own systems. I'm also someone that believes that we're always eternally students of the market, right? So learning from other people is absolutely massive. So with that in mind, I want to cover actually a good friend of ours and another amazing trading team member, someone who's actually renowned a lot for his graphics and the work that he does with the team, but actually probably massively undervalued in terms of his trading skills. He's a very, very talented trader. And yeah, let me first of all share this with you guys. Let me know. Here we go. So this was the trade call from our friend and brother QBS. So Ocean USDT long. Now, a little bit of narrative behind this was looking at the markets, looking at the AI narrative that existed there, and trying to find projects that had started to lag a little bit, right? Because as we know, when Bitcoin runs, when Bitcoin starts to cool off a bit, that speculative money going into that risk asset then trickles down into the slightly riskier assets with a look for, altcoins being a prime example. Well, it's the same in any specific asset class. I mean, AI started to run, for example, then you look at the ones that all the money's gone into AI. At some point, they become a less reasonable buy from terms of risk to reward, right? In which case, then you say to yourself, okay, well, maybe the money that's in this is now going to start flowing down to the lower caps, right? Or the smaller projects. And that was kind of a lot of that thinking is what went into this from QBS. So the cool technical explanation was Ocean broken structure, AI is getting hot. As BTC behaves, I can see upside moves on Ocean. Real nice, crisp, very much the opposite of how I describe things. To the point, I would have written you a page. But He's absolutely spot on. Cool structure, entry, nice entry zone. We can see down here. So I've mark this up on my chart. So I'm going to show you exactly my thoughts behind it and then show you it in a bit more detail. But that's it. It's the flip of this SR area. You see a lot of people use lines, other people use boxes. I think actually in truth, when you start looking at support resistance, it's not always as clear cut as everything massively respecting a line. And I think that does people a disservice, because when you look at it more like boxes, right, an area as such that you want to come into, I think that's a lot more accurate, because you think of position sizes, slippage, etc. It's very unlikely it's going to be that very thin line. So we take it with a grain of salt. Now, let me share with you my screen, and I'm going to show you how I've written up QBS's trade. Let's have a look. So here we go. Now, the one thing that I've added on here that's not on Cuba's chart, and it's just because it's more how I kind of see the charts anyway, is we've got a daily order block here. We can see prices come up into this order block, respected it, come back, rejected from it. But price kind of hanging around this key area here tells us that there's not really utilizing that kind of breakdown as much as we expect to see the energy run out of the space if the risk appetite of the market had turned. Now, the really key thing I think that Cuba's done here is he's given himself a very, very good pivot point, right, which is a key support resistance. Now, as we look at the chart, we can see resistance, big impulse move through it, and it finds support in here. Again, when we see this impulse move below, resistance, we get our deviation, retest, and a sell-off. Where to? Down to liquidity. We've taken the stop losses, we've triggered breakout traders to the lows, allowing bigger players, bigger participants to get their orders filled. We've generated liquidity on the opposite side of the market. That liquidity has been gobbled up by the bigger players who wanted to see this move higher. Now, we can see the sweep, and then we have a reclaim of this level, right? And this, again, is a nice, strong impulse move above the level, okay? And then you've got two options here. You wait for this candle to close. This is an hourly chart. If that's your strategy, as I know with Cuba, he sees that, and then he sees this beautiful, it's not quite a pin bar, but I tell you why this candle is interesting, this one right here, is because of the nature of the wick, right? This is showing us that we've got absorption happening here. We're coming down, we're dipping into this level that was acting as such strong resistance back here, and it's showing us that those people now pushing the market back have accepted that as the position and are now moving up. So the way that QBS trades this, he's a sort of medium time frame trader, takes his entry on the hourly chart most of the time. He said to himself, right, if I see enough strength here, I'm going to take it that this position has been flipped. I'm going to take an entry with a relatively tight stop loss, and I'm going to play it up into these highs. Not quite these highs, because there's a little bit of an expectation here that maybe this order block, we see this bullish order block here, could reject price before it takes the highs. And then obviously we've got this line here from the order block to know that we can start trimming some profits there, or possibly even making our stops flat, de-risking the trade, okay? Now, I just think it's a beautiful trade, right? Again, like most good trading systems, they sound really, really simple on the face of it. But when we actually dive down into it and you look at the time, you look at the knowledge that's gone into picking that, and also the levels, again, these things look easy when we just sit there and it's already drawn for you, but when you're presented with the data, we've got resistance here, but you've got support up here as well. The whole point here, as Jimmy led to earlier, is looking for confluence. So if we're taking this as our high and saying, okay, we can clearly see resistance, then what Cuba's making an allowance for here is taking that high and then looking at the interactions we're also having on the lows, respecting this and the volume bodies, respecting it here, here. This is telling us that that's a key point of interest. And I love how he's just taken that and then flip that around. So when we're talking about it, Jimmy mentioned it earlier, we're always looking for confluence. Some people use moving averages, other people use divergences, right? Which is something that those of you that know anything about how I trade, I'm really, really keen on. And lo and behold, look what we get here. We get this beautiful bullish divergence on the B Pro on the 4 hourly. Price comes up, we take out this high. It's a lovely move, top entry, tight stop loss. And you know what? The other thing that's nice with a trade like this is that if we lose this, you see we got this on the hourly here as well. Now, these divergences on the way up can be really useful as well because they often pick the point at which the market's looking to correct. Okay, so it gives us the opportunity here to possibly get back on board. And what would I be doing to get back on board here? Let me just turn these off for a second. I'd be taking a Fibonacci and I'd be taking it from the beginning of the run to the high, and then I'd look to re-enter here at our golden pocket. All right. So I don't want to do Cuba's trade any more disservice by that, but what a beautiful trade, what a clean trade. And it also came off the back of this high time frame sweep that we can see we recovered this, and then beautiful bullish price action since. So just hats off to Mr. QBS, not just a talented graphic designer and a wonderful human being, but an exceptional trader as well. So it was a pleasure to review that. I hope I did him justice.
I do think you did him a lot of justice. But this is also a reminder, like you guys who are watching this now live. By the way, just also want to say, we do give a lot of premium signals and we do provide a lot of education. We have a series of videos you can get all for free by using our ref link. We have you get this for free from Bybit. If I were you, I would make really use of that. Another thing I want to highlight here, guys, is in the heat of the moment, we always see things a little bit differently. And you also need to be aware that it takes time to wait for a clean chart. Sometimes a chart doesn't look really that clean, and it needs time to get to, before it gets clean. For me, example, if a chart is not clean enough, I just don't trade because it's too chaotic. I don't know where it's going. I cannot read the market, and then I know that it's better to just not trade. To give you to circle back to the previous trade I took, this one, you also need to understand that the most recent move from any asset always triggers the most feelings. What do I mean by that? I mean that when Bitcoin did this whole move to the downside, this is where recency bias actually kicks in. So recency bias means actually that we give way more weight to the most recent data. What's actually the most recent data? The most recent data in this case was, was this move to the downside. Oh, hey, where's my brush, by the way? Someone stole my brush. Give it back. This, guys, was the most recent move. What kind of move was this? This was a move to the downside. So when something is moving to the downside, people naturally feel a lot of resistance to play this, to trade this, because recency bias tells them, hey, it's going down, so it will continue going down. That's not a way of thinking. It's going down, and the next question you should ask yourself, where will the buyers will step in, and where will the sellers getting absorbed, and where will the sellers getting exhausted, and what's my next move? So always try to think a few steps ahead, but also bear in mind that recency bias is it's a serious thing. You will see recency bias, especially at the tops or at range low or range high most of the time. So when you're really fearful too long something because it's sitting on support, because it went from a high point to a low point, tell yourself, this is recency bias. Do I have any triggers to trade this trade? And this is actually a question you should always ask yourself. Is there any form of recency bias going on at this moment or not? Guys, I'm not sure if there are any questions. BC Richfield and I would like to keep this short, sweet, and to the point. We do give way more calls than this alone. We give actually almost on a daily basis different calls, a lot of live streams where you can ask questions, where you can get education, all of that for free, zero cost, cost effective. Just by using the ref link. I think you will find the ref link somewhere in the description. If not, ask me on Twitter, ask me on Discord, and I will help you out. If there are no other questions, then I wish you guys a happy evening. Bye-bye.
Have a great evening, guys. See you around the nest. See you out there. Take care.